We are going to UFC Mexico this weekend. We are taking former UFC flyweight champion Brandon Moreno and former UFC flyweight title contender Steve Erceg. We're throwing them together, and as Steve Erceg said at his media day, he's looking to put on a slobber knocker. But let's get into some betting opportunities first. I'm going to talk you guys through three segments of this. Number one, we're going to go with the underdog opportunities this week. Number two, we're going to roll with parlay pieces. And then we're going to go with our long shot life changers. Let's bust into it. Underdog number one is none other than Manuel Torres. And if you guys haven't seen the line, Drew Dober has flipped to become a favorite. Now we have Manuel Torres at 2 times money here as the underdog, plus 100 for the American homies out there. And I think it comes down to this, right? Drew Dober is my overall pick, you could say. But I would be absolutely lying to say that I don't think that Manuel Torres round one is arguably the most likely outcome in this fight, because Manuel Torres hits hard, he hits often, and he gets in there, gets in people's face and really puts a beating on them. Not only that, but he's huge for the division. He has some unreal power. He jumps on submissions in a flash. So Manuel Torres has about as much round one finishing upside as anybody in this division that I've ever seen. The only one that I could say potentially more is Jalen Turner, but we're stepping up here in competition here. Manuel Torres, is he going to be able to get it done over the likes of a Drew Dober, especially coming over that knockout loss there against Ignacio Bahamondes? We're going to find out. I think you can juice this number as well. Take the money line out of the equation and go with Manuel Torres in round one, either by KO or submission. You're going to get 3 times money on that one. He's finished 14 out of his 15 victories inside of round one, so you know that's his finishing path. We know that Drew Dober can sometimes be a little bit of a slow starter, so Manuel Torres round one is where I would lean with that one. Then we have Steve Erceg at 3.05 times your money. And ultimately, this one comes down to value. Is the pick Brandon Moreno? It has to be, right? Has to be Brandon Moreno. However, sometimes picks and bets are different, and this is because, do I think that Brandon Moreno should be a 3 times favorite over Steve Erceg? I really don't, because Steve Erceg displayed in his performance against Alejandro Pantoja that on any given night, he could become the UFC flyweight champion, And while Brandon Moreno is coming off an absolute buy-high spot, beating Amir Albazi in dominant fashion like he did, he hasn't displayed finishing capabilities inside of the UFC for a very long time. So this isn't Kai Kara France. This isn't a guy that's going to come in here and throw his whole body into one shot. So for Steve Erceg here, I like his durability. I like that he's going to come in here and he's going to have wrestling upside. He's got a little bit of a size advantage there. I think his boxing is very technical. It's not going to be as active as Brandon Moreno because he throws a lot of shots out there. But if Steve Erceg can catch Brandon Moreno on the way in, on the end of his punches here, he could really create a lot of damage. And that's something as well that Steve Erceg hasn't eaten, fight-changing damage many times in his career. You're not looking at Brandon Moreno who's had cuts, beatdowns, breaks, all the rest of it, all these 5 rounds wearing on him. So as they get into the 5th round here, you could see Steve Erceg not looking too beat up and Brandon Moreno cut and bloodied, and that really weighs on the judges' minds as well. So Steve Erceg at 3 times money here, I think I'm quite happy to roll the dice on that, and I have a little play on him myself there. Then we have Melquizael Costa. This is my official underdog opportunity. If you guys haven't seen the video, go check that out. Got a great little edit going for that one as well. Melquizael Costa here is taking on Christian Rodriguez, who is everybody's least favorite prospect killer. The amount of guys that they've sent to him with an undefeated record and he's sent back home with that little sad one and a sad look on their face is too many, But Melquizael Costa isn't an undefeated prospect. And in fact, he's closer to the Julian Rosas of the world, He's now been in here. He's been doing it. He's pretty good everywhere. He has passed a victory in decisions. He has passed a victory with submission. And I think he could even find a KO, So Melquizael Costa here, 2.5 times money. I like this, He's got a little bit of a size advantage here. He's got grappling upside. His striking is ever improving, and he's coming off of a pretty dominant win over Andre Fili, where his striking was actually winning the fight as well. But as soon as it went to the ground, he hunted for the neck, and he got it. Moving on to the parlay pieces. Number one, we're going to roll with David Martinez against Simon Oliveira. Listen, David Martinez here has the footwork. He looks great. He's 11-1, I believe, in his career. He has the trajectory here, and Simon Oliveira's never won a fight in the UFC. So this, to me, is a little bit of a layup here to give this young Mexican a win in front of the home crowd here. the style that he brings versus the style of Oliveira here, I think that it's a pretty clear advantage for him. You know, the way that he has these lateral movement as well, he can skirt around the octagon, avoid some of the takedowns here, and just tag him. I like David Martinez here, and I think he can find a finish late. So the price for me, very suitable. Then we've got Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Vince Morales. Vince Morales put on a good showing in his last outing against Elijah Smith, but Elijah Smith is not Raul Rosas Jr. Raul Rosas Jr. is a 20-year-old phenom when it comes to grappling, and that is where the success of Vince Morales started, was in the grappling. Not only that, but I do believe Raul Rosas Jr. is going to have the faster hands, so he might be able to catch, Morales a couple of times, put him on notice on the feet, then go for the takedowns. I don't see Raul Rosas Jr. getting submitted, but if you want to hedge this fight, you could go fight to end by submission. There's a good, nice number on that. You get it plus 200. Otherwise, Raul Rosas Jr., parlay piece, I sign off on it. And our last parlay piece, I'm going with Rafa Garcia here. Listen, Rafa Garcia is a 5 times money favorite, and you might think, well, that's crazy. Just got finished by Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson would beat the brakes off of Vince Pichel. It's not even close. He would take him down and probably finish him as well. So in this instance here, I think I cut Rafa Garcia a little bit of slack because I do believe in Grant Dawson. I believe his grappling is phenomenal. I don't see Grant Dawson as being this boring guy that people talk about. I think that when he gets the opportunity, he actually does make fights exciting, but he's a winner first and foremost. So when he saw an opportunity to beat on Rafa Garcia, he took it. In this matchup here, I actually see Rafa Garcia being the one who advances, gets the takedowns, and I think he's going to have a hand speed advantage as well. So give me Rafa Garcia. I think he's going to give us more effort late, and at altitude as well. The Mexican man, let's see his heart on display. I think he goes out there and defeats Vince Pichel. I wouldn't even be surprised if he picks up a knockout victory over the 42-year-old. Then we got Joe Pyfer, Joe Body Bags Pyfer. I just think he's better than Kelvin Gastelum at this point across the board. If Kelvin Gastelum was 6'1", maybe I would consider him. But even then, career trajectory, submission upside, power upside, it's all on display here for Joe Pyfer. Outside of his loss against Jack Hermansson, where he kind of got schooled in a 5-round fight, then you could say that it's all been Joe Pyfer. It's been the Joe Pyfer show. So he's looked great. He's looked dominant. He has power in his hands. He has submission upside. Kelvin Gastelum has shown a tendency to get submitted. So I'm going to say Joe Pyfer goes out there and gets the submission. Let's move on to the long shots. We have none other than Joe Pyfer submission. What a smooth transition there, boys. Joe Pyfer submission at 4.15 times your money in this beautiful picture here of Abdul Razak Al Hassan gurgling for life as the blood is just being absolutely choked into him. So Joe Pyfer here, he's incredibly strong, incredibly capable. If he catches Kelvin Gastelum on the mat within the first round and a half, I think it's lights out for Kelvin Gastelum. He could get an armbar, he could get a rear naked choke, get a head and arm triangle. The options there are endless. So give me Joe Pyfer here to win this fight by submission. I really love the price. Then we have David Martinez in round 3. I think he's going to give us more. I think he's going to tag up Oliveira. We've already seen an instance where Oliveira didn't like the pressure of somebody, wasn't able to contend with them in the striking. When he fought Daniel Marcos, lost in round 2, and basically just gave up after being hit to the body, tagged up. He threw a few naked spinning back fists, packed his bags, and went home. So I like the price here. David Martinez, huge favorite. And so, he obviously has the potential to finish this fight late here. 8.5 times your money. Small sprinkle. Don't load up on this, but a small sprinkle is always appreciated on these long shot props where I sign off on them. Then last and foremost, we have Edgar Chairez by TKO/KO. Listen, a lot of people are going to run with the submission on this one. I get it. He's a submission guy. But he also has power in his hands. We saw in his fight against Joshua Van that he can mix it up. He can throw things like spinning back fists. He has power in both of his hands. I know that some people assume that he can get stuck on the mat for extended periods of time, but I see in this instance here, he's going to hunt for a finish. His exact words as well as that. He's really looking to get his first bonus. Everybody knows that you're more likely to get a bonus with a UFC knockout than you are with a submission. So Edgar Chairez on this Mexican card, I think if he really rings true with his words, he's going to be hunting. And I think he's going to be head hunting, especially seeing the success that Temirov had just winging punches at CJ Vergara and getting him to run away. So I'm going to go Edgar Chairez here by KO/TKO. Guys, thank you very much for watching the video. If you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing. Chuck on notifications so you can see when the next video drops. And also, last and foremost, if you want to become a We Want Picks premium member to unlock all of my bets, round line leans, and more, sign up in the link in the description. We Want Picks/BetSam. Code BetSam for 10% off. Let's all make some money this weekend, guys. Thank you all for watching. Peace.